Good afternoon, everyone. This is Angela Brown, Project Lead with the Youth CareerConnect program. We are going to go ahead and get started. It's 2:30 and we want to be respectful of everyone's time. So thank you for joining us and logging on today. I'm going to hand it over to Maisha Meminger. She's going to start us off with an introduction and then pass it along to our speakers today. So Maisha, go ahead and get started.
Hi, everyone. Hopefully you can all hear me. This is Maisha Meminger from the National Office. Hi, I'm using my camera today just to say hello to everyone. It's good to have approximately 30 folks on with us. We're excited to have our employer partners on as well. And anybody else who's working with the Youth CareerConnect grants who want to learn more about tapping into the power of employers. Employer engagement is such a critical part of our grant program, and it's a core element. Angela, can you move me forward one slide, please? Thank you. It's Maisha. You guys know me quite well. It's good to have you guys on. You move me again, Angela. Thanks, Angela. Appreciate it for passing me the ball. So today's objective is basically to learn about strategies and tools in order to engage our employers in a partnership to benefit our young people, our students, which is very important for this program. We want to have long-lasting relationships. We want to have maintained relationships. We want employers' input into strategies for education and engagement. We want to have employers there to provide our young people with opportunities and mentorships, externships for our teachers, as well as employment opportunities for our young people. So we want to look at how do we do that and how do we do it well. And we look forward to hearing from you all on the line as you have your thoughts come in. You can definitely chat those to us. And we're going to have a grantee partner present on this topic as well. Again, YCC, really quickly, employer engagement is a core element in when you apply to the SGA. It was an important part not just to have, supportive services and educational opportunities for our young people, but to have employers at the table, to make sure they're a part of the curriculum development, to make sure they provided opportunities for the teachers, for staff members, for students, and maybe even the parents as well, to make sure that they are at the table when things are discussed and they stay at the table. And also to make sure that we have an educational and workplace blended environment so that, again, what our young people need to know in the field, they're learning in the classroom and they're able to apply that to the real world, to life, as well as if they get a job at these wonderful employers or businesses, that they are able to transfer their skills to that workplace environment. I have the privilege and honor of welcoming Russ Hand with us. Russ is working on a wonderful tool guide for us. It is lengthy and great, has great opportunities for us to learn some more. And we're in the midst of editing it and going through it and learning some more from him. And we're going to be getting that to you shortly. But Russ is going to pull some of the meatier parts of this toolkit that he's working on for you all and talk about some of the lessons learned in employer engagement. So Russ, I'm going to hand it off to you. I'm going to turn off my camera. Bye, everybody. I'll see you guys in a little bit. And Russ, can you take it away?
Russ is here. Greetings to everyone. I am located in the high desert of Central Oregon. I want to thanks very much to each of you for joining us today. I have been involved in training and education for a long time, both as a community college administrator, and then I had the privilege of working within the Employment and Training Administration for 4 years, not so long ago. My involvement with skills training and education has led me to believe that success really relies on effective partnerships, and especially with employers. So it's a privilege for me to share some of these ideas with you today. I think they're pretty straightforward and probably things that you have already considered. But we will come in contact with some ideas and tools and tips and so forth. In short, we're going to cover about 4 things. I want to talk about the importance and value that employers bring to our program, and spend a little time on understanding employers as partners, and sometimes, frankly, unique partners. Then we'll talk about recruiting and integrating employers into your program, and then finally, how do you maintain those long-term relationships that really will be so beneficial. You know, employer partners are really those folks who lead your region's economy. They manage or work in businesses and provide family-sustaining employment, ensure the general economic activity of your area, and of course, they also pay taxes. There are small family businesses right on up to large corporations, multiple sectors from healthcare, manufacturing, service industry, retail, and frankly, none of them are the same. Experience shows that building and maintaining good and useful employer relations is a challenge. And that is because they often hold different expectations than other partners may have. Keeping in mind that each relationship with each employer will be unique and different. Keeping in mind that the most important thing on the mind of your employer partner is her business or his business and the demands of that business. And then third, employers are different because they often expect to move quickly, to make fast decisions, and not to waste any time. Now, of course, they bring incredible value to our program. They hire our grads. Probably that is the end game for all of the work that we put in. They also help us to determine that our programs are spot on when it comes to the skills that we teach and to be sure that the program is up to date. And then also, something we often don't think about, but as your program establishes itself in the community, I cannot think of a better partner group than employers to speak about your program and to represent you. Now, there are a number of benefits, obviously, that you can get from each employer. You see the four large groups there. I think when you talk about guidance, we're really asking them to help us with technical assistance, and especially to define program strategies and goals and help us with our curriculum. And it's important to remember, too, that if our employer partners are able to extend externships and other forms of experiences in professional development for our faculty and other professionals in schools and the community colleges, that may be the most powerful thing they can do. Resources, of course, they're going to provide funds and scholarships, and they may provide trainers and subject experts. I have found, though, that perhaps the most useful thing that we can reliably get is access to the real world of work. They can give us space, laboratory, access to production facilities, tools, machines, classrooms, and all the rest of the things that our students really need to bump up against as they learn about the world of work. Of course, they're going to give learning experiences to our students, and those can be in field trips and internships, shadowing, OJT, part-time employment, and more. Last, though, is something that, again, we may not think of immediately. I think that employers really are able to give us a good entree into the world of work and business. And they will be able to introduce us to other business leaders and, frankly, help us recruit new partners. And as I mentioned earlier, they can speak well of us as we establish our reputation. One of the YCC grantees, and frankly a powerful organization in the research and education around the training world, is Jobs for the Future. And they have created this model, a resource guide to engaging employers, which I think has become a classic model for visualizing how employers emerge as valued partners and, frankly, trusted friends. If you take a look at the model, you notice that there are three larger columns: new relationships, become working relationships, become strategic partnerships. I think those key employer roles, when they begin first in just communicating with us and providing advisement, and then help us build our capacity, and as we move to the right, you see them involved in designing and actually leading our program. I think taking a look at this model is probably the most useful big picture that we can use as we understand this partnership. I think it's a good idea to understand why these folks actually take time from their busy days and spend it with us. And I found 3 or 4 reasons. I think one of them is that sometimes they just want to work out of the office, to be with other people in business, and it's a kind of social commitment. They actually enjoy being with us and to sit in our meetings and to learn about a different part of the world. I think it's also important to understand that often businesses want to demonstrate a community commitment and an interest. And so they volunteer in a variety of ways to improve the image of their company or to actually make investments in the company. And then, of course, they want to have some role in helping to define the programs that will ultimately deliver skilled employees with the right certificates and credentials. Frankly, it's just a pretty good idea for you as you work with each of your partners to understand why that partner has joined you. Well, I've had the question come up, well, what is a good partner? You know, a lot of people volunteer, but I have to choose. And I found a quick list of it. First of all, judge if they really, really want to become engaged or they just want to attend a meeting. Are they partners who can give you a wide and balanced view of the local and regional employment picture? Are they hiring, or will they be hiring in the future? Does it appear to be a business or a company that's in a position to actually make serious commitments to help? Are they in a position to give you funds, to give you access to their business and make a place for your students to learn? Frankly, a big one for me too is, are they likable? Do you like to work with them, and are they trustworthy folks who, once they make a commitment, keep a commitment? You know, in recruiting these folks, I found that there's just a process that's practical, and it's 3 steps. You're going to use what general knowledge you have, and then get more information from local experts, and then, of course, use labor market information. In step 1, you know, this is the time when you and your colleagues and anybody else you can contact, just sit down and review who you know. What businesses do you have relationships with already? And begin to make a list. And add some notes to the list. Is it kind of a company it is? Large, small business? And of course, anything you might already know about whether they will be hiring, or if in fact they belong to a larger corporation that could provide other advances for you as well. I think the second thing is to take a good look at local LMI, labor market information. You got to check the numbers. And LMI gives you a good look based on real employment statistics like job forecasts and wages and demographics. It will help you learn who's hiring, what jobs are growing in the future, what skills those jobs require, and which job areas are projected to grow over the long term and are worth taking the risk to invest building a training program to support. You know, LMI is widely available, and of course the best known source is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. I think another terrific source, though, is our own U.S. Department of Labor's Career Information Network, the Career OneStop. And of course, you can find that online. Each state also has an LMI site. That'll give you more targeted information, and it's certainly worth spending time with. I think, though, if you are able to find, I'll make one recommendation. If you're looking for real-time, current labor market information, you look for programs that are constantly reviewing want ads and taking a look at what jobs are available now. And they provide recent localized reports on labor demand and supply, and there's a lot of those. The one that I know most about is monster.com. At the end, though, you're going to take the list you created in step one and push it up against the numbers that you've collected about LMI to determine which would be the wisest investment for you to make as a partner. Last, of course, you're going to check with local experts. Well, who are they? All of us have chambers of commerces. We have economic development corporations or commissions. We have different associations. And they are so valuable because they know the world of business in their area. And they can review that list and give you advice on it and perhaps identify other prospects. Second, they can put you in contact with individuals in those businesses. And frankly, that's a big step, because if somebody from the chamber calls a local businessman and asks, hey, spend a little time with the YCC program, it gives you a nice entree. And last, sometimes members of those organizations make very good employer partners themselves. Now, as you prepare to meet with an employer, you're going to go through some pretty predictable steps. You're going to prepare, of course, and you're going to build an agenda. And all of that is working toward determining, one, if you want this particular employer as a partner, and second, can you get a commitment? I think that once you have established your list, you spend a lot more time, or somebody on your team does, just learning much, much more about the company. Specifically, know as much as possible about their products or services, the status of the company. Are they growing, declining, expanding in the area or somewhere else? You should also check the newspaper, see if they've made the paper for anything as well. And finally, get the names and titles of the senior management team, because you're going to want to know much more about each of those individuals, because they're the folks that you will really speak with. As you prepare for this meeting, let me urge you to take the highest ranking individual in your organization as the lead person for the first meeting. That may be the director of your program, it could be the superintendent or the principal of your school, or even the president of your community college. It's probably a useful idea to have that highest ranking individual make the first phone call to set up the meeting, because we want the individual in the employer community to understand this is important, and the president of the college or the superintendent of my school gave me a call to set up this meeting. As you prepare, keep in mind that you really want to be very, very prepared, and you want to manage this meeting. You want it to be focused, to be well thought out, and to be efficient, and frankly, to follow a very, very tight agenda. And I've given you an example of what an agenda might look like, which frankly I don't intend to go through. But what I have given you here is some idea for a meeting of an hour to an hour and a half maximum of how much time you might be spending on things like introduction, describing YCC, and also taking questions, asking questions about the employer. Key is explaining what membership would involve if this employer joins your YCC team and becomes a partner. You explain the commitment, and especially what kind of time it's going to be required. Now, assuming that meeting occurs, you and your team will get together afterwards to determine if, in fact, the employer might be a good person or partner to join the team. And second, did you accomplish the purpose? What did you learn? Now, I will say this more than once. Building an employer relationship is a slow, careful, patient process. And the first meeting is only that. It introduces you, and you are in a position to be able to begin to understand more about the individual. Remember, though, that your goal is to get some sort of a commitment. Those commitments vary in strength. Sometimes an individual will say, well, sure, I'll come to the meeting. I'd like to learn more. And a long, deep commitment means, yep, we're part of it, we'll work with you, and we're going to be able to give you the following. Remember, an employer cannot generally make an immediate commitment. There are some things that each partner is going to want to understand. For example, number one, is there benefit to their company or to their business to become a partner with your program? Second, to reach a conclusion about that, they really need to understand the processes and the business of your business. They want to know more about how training is done. What kind of individuals do you graduate? Most importantly, they want to know what you expect from them. How much time? What kind of a commitment is going to be taken? And then keep in mind, too, if it's a larger company, quite often that individual will have to work with people who may be supervisory or a little higher up in the chain to help decide whether they will become partners or not. Now, once you've made a commitment that this person will be a new partner, or you're going to make the effort, you need to learn as much additional information as you can about this business or this company. Do they have a good climate for learning? Have they made an understanding of the skills and levels of jobs in their own companies? And surprisingly, sadly, some companies don't. Do they understand how people come into their companies and move up? You're going to want to learn about their training systems and such, because you're going to want to be able to line your program up with the needs that they have for skilled employees. You know, over a period of time and perhaps a number of meetings and phone conversations, you and the new individual partner will begin to understand some of the roles and responsibilities. They may begin by asking for more information as they begin to learn more about your program. You can tell, however, that they have more and more or increasing interest if the questions are more specific and they want to know in greater detail about a certain thing. Probably they're looking for places where they can make contributions or to contribute those things that they know well or they can do with a level of professionalism. You know, somewhere along the line, and a question that I frequently get is, well, if we're going to build this partnership with an employer, do we have to have a written agreement? And those are generally called memorandums of understanding, of course, MOUs. What I have found is most employers are adverse to having a written agreement at the beginning. I think the position that most employers would like or are comfortable with is, you know, let me just attend the meeting and let me learn about your program and see where my company fits and what we can do. Now, it may lead to an MOU. It will lead to an MOU if, for example, the company is going to provide resources and you're going to consume them, or if your students are going to be in their workplace, they're going to want an MOU if their own staff's going to be teaching or advising, or if in some way there's a liability involved. Remember, an MOU is just useful because it basically addresses problems before the problems occur. Here's what one looks like. You know, it's not a legal document, although it could become a contract. It does cover a number of things. I mentioned a few of them a minute ago. The MOU mostly, though, is to formalize the employer's involvement. The value of the document, as I mentioned earlier, is that it tries to remove the potential for misunderstanding and for disappointing each other. I will say again, do not rush an employer to sign an agreement. Some wonderful partnerships will never have a signed agreement. Some agreements have to be cleared by senior management. Again, be flexible, don't rush the process. As you look down the list there, and some things that I mentioned a little bit earlier, you notice a lot of it has to do with communication. How will we communicate? If a conflict occurs, what is our process for resolving that conflict? A minute here, I'm changing that slide. Thank you. You know, I think it's a good idea to take one more look at the JFF model here, just so that if there's nothing else that you take away from our moments here, you see that partnerships are emergent. They're new. You get to know each other. You begin to work with each other. It becomes stronger. It becomes a true partnership, meaning that they are looking out for you. And it goes from getting to know you to employers who keep a deep interest in a strategic partnership with you. And I have found that in working with employers, there's a couple of things that are really, really important for you to do. One of those is to learn to speak business speak, not educationese. Business people are generally focused on solutions. They want to know about ideas, and they are very uninterested in our educational terminology. The last frustration that I found is pretty predictable, I think, and that is as secondary schools, high schools, and colleges, we work on an education calendar. We start in the fall, we end in the late fall, early winter, we take weeks off for this, we have special days off or whatever. Well, business, of course, doesn't operate that way. They are going 24/7, 365 days a year, and they're watching things move constantly. I think it's important, too, as you work with partners, to begin to have systems for obstacles and problems that pop up, and for workarounds and for things to protect your employers. Never place your employer partner in a position that may endanger their systems or controls, or push against legal or process-oriented controls that they must honor. I found that in most cases, employers are very, very clear about what lines you cannot cross. When close to those limits, you should acknowledge it and seek an alternative. Make sure that they know that you are interested in protecting them legally. One of the problems that I know that our high school partners run into is that frequently our students are not adult age, 18. And so sometimes it's not possible for us to bring those young people into the plant. Our partner from Minnesota, Jay, will give you a wonderful solution to that particular obstacle. But again, you are maintaining the relationship by protecting this partner. I know that a list of a dozen little points is probably way too many. But I have found that if you take this list of a dozen and just review it at a meeting where you and your team sit down, that it's just an excellent way to have a process, a routine process for making sure your employers are staying close, that they're happy, and you are responding to them. Number one, start early. When you're working with employers, don't build your entire program and then invite them to the table. Engage them early so that they can be part of the design process. Be inclusive, be responsive, work with them side by side, visit their firms, respond to their ideas, and frankly, involve them as much as you can, which leads obviously to number three, find out exactly what your employers need from this relationship and be sure that they get it. I think it's a gimme for me that as you begin to take a look at the success of your program, you ask employers for their opinions about it because quality control is something they're more used to than we are, and that they can really give us some good insights into what is and is not working. Number five, I think scheduling meetings are very, very important to manage the time. And those meetings should be planned well in advance, maintain a reliable, consistent calendar, send an agenda. And I have found that last-minute changes in meeting times and places is an excellent way for you not to get the employer to attend. Obviously, number six, meet your deadlines, keep your promises, return all the phone calls and emails, and for goodness sake, listen, listen, listen to what employers are saying to you about your own program. I found that a reliable communication system really means that you use the same kind of communication all the time. Perhaps it's an email, maybe it's a phone call, text, however you do it, but do it the same way so that they begin to expect reliable, routine communication from you. And of course, 8, be clear, stay clear. Inform your employers about expectations and inform them, give them a 6-month calendar of meetings and times for things. Perhaps 9 and 10 and 11 are more important than anything else you do. On a very routine basis, have the chair of your committee or the director of your program call each of your partners and have a phone conversation that is a chat to provide updates and compliments and to seek opinions. 10, boy, say thank you. Thank you, thank you. And make sure that you note individual contributions, that you name people's names and their companies, and where it's practical, send a copy of your thank you to that person's immediate supervisor or the CEO of the company. Number 11, party, party, party. Bring people together for celebrations, for thank yous, for very public, hey, look what we're doing. As a result of your contributions, we are being successful. And I've found that it's really important to have some kind of food available. People love to come for a sandwich or even a piece of cake. Finally, use your own outreach communication systems, your bulletins and news releases and blogs, to routinely highlight the contributions of individuals and their companies. It really is wonderful when in an article about your program in the local paper, your employer partner sees his company named. Well, I know that a dozen actions is quite a few, but you notice there's a common theme. Stay in touch, understand employer needs, say thank you. Hey, it's been my pleasure to share ideas with you. As noted earlier, the Youth Office will be releasing a handbook that will cover a great deal of this kind of stuff. Thanks much for listening, and Maisha, back to you.
Can you guys hear me now? Okay, I apologize. I thought I could talk into my computer without my earpiece in, but I do apologize. Russ, I was asking you, you use an acronym by the name of OJT. Can you explain OJT for us?
Of course. OJT is on-the-job training, and it is often when a student or even a new employee works with a more experienced employee, often with a formal curriculum, and they work side by side, learning the job as they do it.
Yes, earn as you learn. I think there's a terminology that we like to use up here as Department of Labor, so thank you for that. For those who have any questions for Russ, please type them into our chat feature and let us know if you have any questions. I don't see any questions on the floor. If you want to raise your hand, please let us know. And again, Russ has this great tool that we are working on now, our toolkit and handbook that will be available to you guys shortly. So if there's more of the stuff written out, some samples of that agenda that he just talked about. So thank you so much, Russ, and I know you're going to be on the line for any questions that may pop up. I would like to take this time, you know, we always want to have a grantee on the call with us. So I want to take the time to introduce Nils Ehrman from Pima County. Nils, are you on with us?
I am.
All right, Nils is great. He's going to be presenting about employer engagement at the grantee level, and it's always important for us to share best practices and also challenges with each other and how to make this work. So I look forward to hearing from Nils right now and to having this conversation with him. So go ahead, take it away.
Thank you, Maisha. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity. You know, Russ did an excellent job covering the basics. The more I listened to the presentation, I realized that we pretty much do 90% of his recommendations. We just need to pick up the last 10. Pima County is Pima County OneStop Career Center. We're the recipients of the YCC Grant, so a little bit different. Workforce System was a recipient of a grant and partnered with school districts in the region to work on two industry sectors that we have found to be key sectors for us to concentrate, and that's the health sector and the aerospace defense. We have a biosciences program, a health information tech program, an industrial technology machining program, and an aviation tech program that is part of our YCC grant. Our team is a business services team that manages this grant. Our primary customer on a daily basis is business. We are focused on trying to understand every day as our team of 6 folks go out into industry and knock on doors, trying to understand what industry's needs are and what their challenges are to find the workforce of the future. And then with that, we are facilitators and actually navigators trying to engage business with the school systems and the workforce systems to be able to build the necessary pipelines and pathway training programs that are appropriate for the future. And we have done this for the last 20 years. Our team is constantly looking for opportunities out in the industry and trying to understand every day what their needs are and what their challenges are. And then what we try and do is we try to bring people to the table to solve these different problems. In our YCC grant, we have used a model that we developed a couple of years ago working with the manufacturing industry. We had reached out to them, 30 companies, trying to understand what their challenges are for finding future machinists. It turned out that 30 responded to a survey, 20 plus showed up to initial meetings to discuss what their challenges were. They were the only ones at the table. Education was not there. And they pretty much shared their frustrations with the lack of appropriate and relevant training within the region. They found that they were having not only shortages in available workforce, but also they were looking at the boomers starting to retire, and that they were anticipating some very huge shortages in the near future. And so we got together and brought together the community college system and the K-12 system to start to listen and to understand what their needs were. These employers, because they felt certain pain points and they were passionate about the work that they did, assigned individuals within their own companies to work with us. And we have found that over the course of the last 2 years, they have actively gone into the schools, worked with the schools. They have volunteered on curriculum committees and changing curriculum. They have advocated for support of the community college and high school CTE funding programs. They have developed and implemented internship programs where our students actually go in and work in these companies, and many of them are hired on. They have facilitated loaning equipment to the schools when they were short of certain equipment or helping with repairs of equipment. They've loaned staff to be faculty to these programs. They have helped us develop a mentorship program that we're in the middle of doing, and then they are volunteering as mentors. They've been advocates at the local and state levels of government to support the education system and the needs of industry. And so what we have found with this model is that we are able to replicate it. The thing with business is that it's a constant long-term relationship, and we look at the YCC grant opportunity as enabling us to continue to reach out to industry, learn how to work with them better, learn what their challenges are in the future, and how to facilitate those, and then be the translators for them. I think Russ mentioned they speak a different language and they operate on a different time clock than the rest of the world, and that is a challenge, and that is one of the services we provide as a business services team at a OneStop Career Center. The successes from this program have been that one of the schools had a relatively small program. Another one wanted to have a program with absolutely no equipment in it and was talking about it. 2 years later, we have one school that's robust and continues to grow, and we have another one that grew out of nothing that went from like 12 students into the program that now they have 40 students enrolled. And then we are kind of filling the pipeline that now we're asking our industry partners to help us recruit more business partners in. And I think that they become the best recruiters for you. How you find them, our team is constantly knocking on doors, knowing somebody, using relationships. We go to Chambers of Commerce meetings, we go to economic development meetings. Pretty much many of the things that Russ suggested and shows in his toolkit are the ways that we do business. It is constantly outside of the house, and I think that's one of the challenges of the education system is that they're not always familiar with or comfortable with stepping out of the boundaries of the schools and getting out into industry and knocking on doors. but if you don't meet employers where employers meet, it becomes really difficult to build the relationships. And the most important thing for us that we've learned over time is it's about trust. We can do many things, but the greatest thing we can do is for them to trust us and for us to maintain that trust. And oftentimes that puts us in positions where we have to negotiate with our friends and our partners to make sure that we're meeting the needs of industry. I think one of the opportunities out there for the grantees that are school systems is to kind of get to know your local workforce investment opportunity system and your workforce investment boards. They can be a wealth of resources and knowledge, with many of those boards being made up with a predominance of industry partners. It is not a quick and easy exercise, but I think it's one that brings resources to the table. A lot of the workforce boards have one-stop systems and staff that staff them, and they can be an absolute wealth of knowledge and expertise and really developing the relationships. And then Russ mentioned labor market information. We find there's different levels. We take the national information from the Department of Labor and also the Bureau of Labor Statistics, but we also oftentimes do some of our own surveys and try to understand what our markets look like ourselves so that we can better address some of the changes and the needs in the market. The other challenge for workforce professionals is that in developing pipelines, I think we sometimes think that we're developing large pipelines of staff, and oftentimes we're going to work in short-term 2-year increments of meeting needs of industry and then turning around and readdressing that and additional needs as they grow. So in our example, we started working with machinists, and now all of a sudden the same companies are coming to us and asking us about welders. And so it's trying to be adaptive and responsive to the needs of industry without building large infrastructure systems that are difficult to manage. I think that pretty much covers.
Well, yeah. Go ahead, Neil, please.
That pretty much covers in generality some of the work that we're doing.
No, that sounds awesome. I truly think that's interesting how you guys are working through your challenges, working with your employers and learning about how to improve that relationship. And I appreciate your time and sharing that with us from Pima. Is it warm down there? Because we're cold up here.
Oh, it's in the high 80s today.
Oh, I'm so jealous. I got a scarf around my neck up in here, so I'm just too through with you. Well, thank you, Neil, so much for your time, and hopefully you stay on for any questions. I did have one question before I get to Jay. Jay, hold on for a second. Yolanda, of course, Yolanda Tully from our PG County Grant. Just want to remind us all, as we've heard before, Yolanda, but I appreciate you, that, we can't pay for food. So think about creative ways of partnering with your employers to pay for food or to find donations from grocery stores and Chipotle's to pay for food or pizza, because we want to make sure that we don't pay for pizza as a part, or food, period, as a part of the grant. So thank you, Yolanda, for that reminder. Jay, are you ready to share a little information with us from Apple Valley, Minnesota?
Sure. Can everyone hear me?
Yep, I can hear you perfectly. So Jay's going to be sharing with us your experiences from the field in employer engagement. So go ahead, take it away, Jay.
All right. So my name is Jay Cody. I am the student advisor for the E3 STEM program. We are a pretty small program out of one high school and also a few avid programs in our school district at some neighboring high schools. So just to give you a little bit of background about our program, if we could advance the slide one. We have an 11 to 14 model, which is a little bit unique in the program. I think 4 of the 24 grantees have that kind of model. Our students select one of 6 pathways: engineering, IT, medical, nanoscience, biomedical, and then energy tech / advanced manufacturing. And those were recommended to us by the local community college that we're partnering with, Inver Hills and Dakota County Technical College that you can see there. They're actually partners. They share administrators, and they have been with us along the whole way. The way our model works, our students get services in 11th and 12th grade at our high school. While they're at our school, they can take courses for free in these pathways at Inver Hills or Dakota County Tech. And if they choose to go to one of those two schools, then the grant services continue with them. So they would have access to tutoring, to counseling, to the job shadows with our partners, but only if they choose to go to one of those two schools do the services stay with them. And you can see our partners across the bottom. Those are the 5 partners that signed on with us at the beginning of the grant. They were part of our application. We have added some partners since then, and I'm just going to talk about our relationship with 3 of our partners because, as Russ mentioned, all partnerships look a little bit different, and specifically, I know there was interest in how we work around the 18 and over situation for liability with our advanced manufacturing partners. So if we could go forward again. Uponor was one of our first partners that we started working with. They are an advanced manufacturing company. Their U.S. headquarters is in Apple Valley. They're actually a Finnish company. They make PEX, plastic plumbing piping. It's replacing a lot of copper, and just they have a very expanding business, but I suspect that most of you have never heard of them. They're a pretty small presence in the U.S. right now, and they do have the requirement to be 18 to be on the manufacturing floor. So what they have been able to do for us, they've hosted field trips with career panels, and we actually had a separate field trip last year. We didn't have any seniors in our program because all of our students have to start as juniors to be in the program, but we did have an extra trip for seniors to help them recruit some summer employees because those students would be 18. They worked with us from the beginning. They helped us set up our guidelines for job shadowing, for mentoring, for internships. Like Russ was saying, business and education sometimes speak separate languages, and they were able to help us put in expectations that we eventually created documents and sent to other companies. They were able to help us word those, able to help us set up, you know, for example, how do we have kids fill out forms for non-disclosure when they have confidential things that they're going to be seeing on field trips, things like that. While we are not able to do internships for most of our students because they're not old enough to be on the floor, we have been able to engage our students in their company in other departments. So we have had students do job shadows in their IT departments in marketing and engineering, which kind of let our kids develop a reputation for themselves in the company without breaking the rules. And it also, it just set up a very positive relationship between our students and some of their employees that we're hoping as our kids this year start turning 18, we will be able to move them into the paid internships that they can do on the actual manufacturing floor. For them, a lot of publicity. When we received this grant, our 2 U.S. senators came for a site visit, and instead of doing that visit at our school, we had it happen at Uponor so that they would be able to see that facility, and it obviously got them a lot of publicity to have both of those people there. We also found that when we took our students there, they were very excited about the prospect of working at Uponor, hearing about the company and all of the advantages to the jobs at their company. Again, this is a Finnish company with European-style benefits that also helps pay for students' education. Our kids went home. Some of them wrote their 18th birthdays on the whiteboard at the company and asked to be contacted. And then they went home and told their parents, and their parents said, manufacturing, that's not for you. So we've been able to identify maybe not even the lack of information for students as a barrier, but the lack of information for parents. And so we're actually working with Uponor right now to try and get some parents into their company, to get Uponor to school events where parents are going to be, so that they can make sure that not just the kids are informed about the job possibilities, but also that their parents are aware of what our partner companies have to offer. Another partner, if we go on one more slide, this is Skyline, and they were not one of our original partners. They are a company that makes materials for trade shows, so they design, they build displays for trade shows for companies. They have a very seasonal business. They have 2 busy seasons during the year, and then they have quite a bit of downtime. So they have not signed on to be mentors. They have not signed on to do a lot of tours because of the way their calendar works. But what they were able to do was to become advisors to some of our students. As part of the grant, we built a new fab lab in our school this year, and this was using some grant money and also using some money from our school district. And what we were able to do was have some of the engineers from Skyline become advisors to students, and we invited students to help design the furniture for our fab lab. We thought, why would we buy furniture when the furniture that we would be buying would be made with the same equipment that we have here? So we had a group of students learn how to use the software. They're created and designed prototypes with support from the engineers at Skyline. They did get a tour of the facility so they could see what the business looked like, but then they came back to our school and they produced the tables at our school. They were able to do a prototype. They got critique on the prototype from the business, and then they built the tables at our school. So now we are using tables at our school designed and built by students, again, with the feedback from our employer partners. So that was a really good way for us to engage them, to have our kids doing the work without endangering our partner or our liability issues on our end. And then just one more partner that we have, Thomson Reuters. Just a totally different partnership. They're looking for IT people, and they usually only hire people with four-year degrees. They invited our entire staff to talk about the skills and attributes that they're looking for. They are also advising students on projects for our school. We are having our students design an online course catalog, the ones in the IT program, and they're going to be meeting monthly with advisors from Thomson Reuters to help them as they create. And we had a few students who we thought were really talented, who had some skills that we wanted to see if they might be able to do an internship over there. And we had them interview, and what came out of these interviews is Thomson Reuters actually created a profile moving forward, what they would want from our students if they wanted to qualify for an internship, which is great because now we can share this with students and say, if you think you want to work here, this is what you need to do. And it also gave us some information to take to our school leaders and say, you know, if we can get kids into AP Computer Science, then they'll be eligible to work at Thomson Reuters and to have a summer internship. And that allowed our school to go back and create a pre-AP class to maybe get more students into computer science. As it was, that was the first computer science class, so then students who didn't already have some aptitude for that would never have signed up. But now there's an intro class to kind of get kids to think about that career before they commit to the full year AP, much more strenuous program. So those are just a few examples of how we worked with 3 of our partners, and I would be happy to answer any questions people have.
Okay, Jay, that's awesome. I think, you know, thinking through those challenges, we talked about those before, you know, not being able to have our young people under the age of 18 on the floors, that being a danger and liability, thinking outside the box, bringing the work to you, making sure that young people are engaged with these employers virtually or in other ways is awesome. I think you guys are being so innovative with that and to think those through. So, I mean, as our grantees are online thinking about ways to meet those challenges, they are there. If you have any questions or comments, please keep the chat going. I don't see anything right now. We are going to be running over maybe by 3 minutes. I don't want to keep you guys too late. I do apologize. We definitely had a lot of information to share with you all today. But if you have any questions or comments, please keep those coming. While we think about those questions, I just want to share with you all, our next training will be on marketing and sustainability. We're looking forward to learning about how to market our program, how to make sure that we are learning how to share, again, with employers, with other partner organizations, other schools, with community college, what we're doing, how to keep that going out in the community, how to share with our parents what we're doing, and also not just looking at marketing, but also sustainability, keeping that going long term, and looking at that. So we're looking forward to our marketing sustainability webinar on November 19th at 2 p.m. Keep your eyes out for that invitation. That should be coming out shortly. Also, you guys know where to contact us. You know that we are ycc@dol.gov. We're looking forward to hearing from you if you have any questions. We are answering questions as they're coming through, looking up things, researching items, making sure that you guys have the right answers for your success of your program. Also, please remember, now when you block out or you log out of this webinar, an evaluation is going to pop up immediately. Please make sure you take that time to take that evaluation. It's so very important to us as we try to improve our technical assistance delivery to you all. We also want to know about topics you want to talk about. It's very important for us as we build that. So every time you guys hear from us, we're adding more TA on, technical assistance onto our list because we're hearing from you and we want to take that very seriously here to make sure we meet your needs. So thank you, everybody. Any questions? I didn't see any questions come in. Let me check my chat. Let me check. Okay. Again, we want to thank you for your time and your energy and your effort. Thank you again to Jay, Russ, Nils for your time. It was great. I'm looking forward to seeing you all again in November. Bye. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.